I'm a 22-year-old female college student, and I find myself in a complicated situation that's making me question whether I'm doing the right thing. My relationship with my mom, 44F, has always been loving but complicated, especially when it comes to money. Ever since I can remember, she's struggled with financial management despite having a good job at an insurance company where she makes around $65,000 a year. Growing up, I watched her cycle through periods of debt and brief financial stability. She would work hard to pay off her debts, only to immediately make new large purchases that would put her right back where she started. The most recent example was last year. After 3 years of strict budgeting and overtime work, she finally paid off all her credit cards and loans. Instead of maintaining that freedom, within 2 weeks she had taken out a loan for a $20,000 designer couch and booked a 2-week Caribbean cruise. My stepdad, 46M, who she married when I was 15, isn't any better with money. He works as a project manager for a construction company, but the job is about 4 hours away from our house. Rather than looking for work closer to home, they decided to rent a whole apartment near his workplace. This means they're paying 2 sets of bills, our house mortgage and utilities, plus rent and utilities for his apartment. When I suggested he look for jobs locally, they both got defensive and said I didn't understand adult responsibilities. Money has always been an extremely sensitive topic with my mom. She takes any mention of financial struggles as a personal attack on her parenting. When my cousin Emma graduated high school the same year as me, her parents bought her a new Toyota Camry. My mom cried for 3 days straight because she could only afford to give me her old Honda Civic. I tried explaining that I was grateful for the car and didn't need a new one, but she wouldn't hear it. She kept saying she was a failure as a mother because she couldn't give me nice things. I started college 3 years ago at our state university. Since my mom and stepdad's credit wasn't good enough to co-sign loans, I knew I would have to figure out funding on my own. I got my associate's degree by working 30 hours a week at a coffee shop while taking classes. Now I'm working on my bachelor's in business administration, still paying everything out of pocket. I never complained about this situation because I saw how upset my mom got whenever money came up. Last month, my aunt Lisa, 40F, my mom's younger sister, and her long-term boyfriend Steve came into some money through an investment that paid off. They bought a beautiful $900,000 house in an upscale neighborhood and still had significant savings left over. Since my aunt graduated from the same university I'm attending, I reached out to her for advice about getting an external student loan on my own. We met for lunch at a local cafe last week to discuss loan options. What happened next completely caught me off guard. My aunt told me that since they were in such a good financial position and had already finished their holiday shopping, she wanted to give me her entire year-end work bonus to help with my education expenses. My aunt is a senior CPA at one of the big accounting firms, so while I don't know the exact amount, I know their bonuses usually start at $1,000 and can go much higher. This offer would be absolutely life-changing for me. I currently have about $12,000 in student loans, which I know isn't terrible compared to some people, but with a year and a half left to finish my degree, that number is only going to grow. Any help would make a huge difference in my financial future. Here's where my dilemma comes in. My mom and I have always been extremely close and tell each other everything. We talk multiple times a day and share all the details of our lives. Keeping this from her feels wrong and goes against our entire relationship dynamic. But I know exactly how she'll react if I tell her about my aunt's offer. She'll put on a brave face while I'm there, congratulate me, and say how generous Lisa is. Then she'll go home and cry for days about being a failure as a mother because she can't help me herself. She'll probably also feel hurt that I went to my aunt for financial advice instead of trying to figure things out with her, even though she and my stepdad have already been denied as co-signers. The thought of causing her this pain makes me feel terrible, but I also don't want to turn down this incredible opportunity. My aunt specifically asked me to keep things low-key, saying she just wants to help me finish school without accumulating too much debt. She understands my mom's sensitivity about money and suggested it might be better not to make a big deal about her gift. I've gone back and forth about whether to tell my mom immediately, wait until after everything is settled, or not tell her at all. The money would go directly to my tuition account, so it's not like she would see it in my bank account. But the guilt of keeping this secret from her is eating at me. My best friend Sarah thinks I should just accept the money quietly and focus on finishing school. She's been around for years and has seen how my mom's emotional reactions to money issues have affected me. My boyfriend agrees with Sarah, saying that sometimes it's okay to keep things private if sharing them would only cause unnecessary pain. I love my mom deeply and appreciate everything she's done for me, but I also need to think about my future. The student loan debt I'm accumulating is scary, and any help reducing that burden would make a huge difference in my life after graduation. I just don't know if protecting my mom's feelings is worth keeping this secret. So, Ida, if I accept my aunt's help without telling my mom? I honestly don't know what the right thing to do is anymore. Update 1. Hi everyone, I want to thank you all for the advice and support on my last post. A lot has happened in the past 2 weeks, and I really need to share it all. I decided to accept my aunt's generous offer and plan to keep it quiet, at least for a while. Unfortunately, that plan completely fell apart last weekend during our regular Sunday family dinner at my mom's house. Every week, our extended family gathers at our place for dinner: my mom, stepdad, my younger cousin Amy, 17F, my aunt Lisa and her boyfriend Steve, and a few other relatives who live nearby. Everything was going fine until dessert when Amy started talking about her college plans for next year. She was excited about possibly attending the same university as me and started asking questions about tuition costs. That's when it happened. She casually mentioned how lucky I was that Aunt Lisa was giving me her work bonus for school. The moment those words left her mouth, the atmosphere in the room changed completely. My mom's fork clattered onto her plate, and I watched as all the color drained from her face. She tried to maintain her composure, but I've seen that look too many times before. She excused herself from the table, saying she needed to use the bathroom. When she came back 15 minutes later, her eyes were red and puffy from crying. The rest of dinner was unbearably awkward. My aunt tried to smooth things over by changing the subject, but the damage was done. The car ride home with my mom and stepdad was completely silent. I could feel the tension building with every passing minute. Once we got home, my mom finally broke down. She confronted me in the kitchen, asking why I hadn't told her about the money. She wasn't just hurt about the financial aspect, she was devastated that I had kept it secret from her. She said she thought we told each other everything, and she couldn't understand why I had gone behind her back to ask my aunt for financial advice instead of coming to her first. My stepdad made everything worse by jumping into the conversation. He started listing all the ways they had helped me, letting me live at home rent-free during my first 2 years of college, providing me with a car, even though it was my mom's old one, feeding me, and paying for my phone bill. He made it sound like I was ungrateful for everything they had done, even though their attempts to help with college had been limited by their poor credit. The situation escalated when my mom called my aunt later that night. I could hear her crying and yelling through the phone. She accused my aunt of trying to show her up and make her look like a bad mother. She said things like, "You've always had it easier than me and you're trying to buy my daughter's love." My aunt tried to explain that she just wanted to help her niece with school, but my mom wouldn't listen. She told my aunt that she had no right to intervene in our family's financial matters. Now the whole family is taking sides. My older brother Mark, 25M, thinks I should have been upfront about the money from the beginning, saying secrets always come out eventually. My sister Katie, 19F, says I was right to keep it quiet because she knows how mom gets about money. My dad, who lives in Florida with his new wife, called to say I did nothing wrong by accepting help for my education. But my stepdad's family is firmly on my mom's side, saying I was deceitful and should have discussed any financial help with my mom first. The fallout has been affecting my aunt too. She called me yesterday, extremely upset about the whole situation. She said she never meant to cause family drama and suggested that maybe it would be better if she just helped me find a good private loan instead of giving me the bonus. I tried to tell her that none of this was her fault, but she feels responsible for the mess. My mom has gone from anger to silent treatment. She barely speaks to me now, and when she does, it's just short, necessary communications like dinner's ready or the bathroom's free. She's been posting cryptic messages on Facebook about trust and family loyalty, which some relatives have been commenting on, making everything even more uncomfortable. Living at home has become extremely difficult. My stepdad makes passive-aggressive comments about trust and gratefulness every chance he gets. When I'm studying in my room, I can hear my mom crying in her bedroom. She gets especially emotional whenever she sees anything related to college or finances. She even broke down at the grocery store when she saw a back-to-school display. I feel trapped because I can't afford to move out while paying for school, but the atmosphere at home is suffocating. Every meal is tense, every conversation feels loaded with unspoken accusations, and I'm constantly walking on eggshells. My aunt has given me until the end of the month to decide what I want to do about her offer. I'm torn between accepting it and dealing with the family fallout, or turning it down to keep the peace. Either way, I feel like I'm losing something important, either the financial help I desperately need for school, or my mom's trust and closeness. I never meant for any of this to happen. I was just trying to finish my education without drowning in debt. Now I feel like I've damaged my relationship with my mom, possibly permanently, and I don't know how to fix this without giving up the help I need for school. Update 2. Hi everyone, the situation has gotten even more complicated, and I need to share what happened in the past few weeks. After all the drama about my aunt's offer, I discovered something that changed my entire perspective. Last weekend, I was helping my mom organize paperwork for tax season, something I've always done since I'm good with numbers. While sorting through documents in her home office, I found papers showing she had received a substantial inheritance when my grandmother passed away last year. The amount was close to $50,000, which shocked me because she had never mentioned this money. At first, I thought maybe I was misunderstanding the documents, but as I dug deeper, I found bank statements showing how the money had been spent. The $20,000 couch, the Caribbean cruise, renovations to their master bathroom, and several other luxury purchases, it was all paid for with my grandmother's inheritance money. When I confronted my mom about this discovery, she completely broke down. Through her tears, she admitted that she had kept the inheritance secret because she was embarrassed about how she spent it. She claimed she initially planned to save some for my education but got carried away with spending. According to her, my stepdad had encouraged her to spend the money on home improvements and their vacation, saying they deserved to enjoy it after years of financial struggle. This revelation made my blood boil. All those times I was working double shifts at the coffee shop, stressing about tuition payments, and feeling guilty about asking for help with books, they had money that could have helped but chose to spend it on luxury items instead. The worst part was when my mom tried to justify their decisions, saying they needed the vacation for their mental health and the couch was an investment in their home. I couldn't keep this information to myself. During one of our regular phone calls, I told my aunt about the inheritance. She was shocked because my mom had been telling everyone she couldn't help me with college due to financial hardship. In fact, she had used her financial struggles as a way to gain sympathy from family members, often crying at family gatherings about not being able to help me with school. My aunt became upset and shared this information with other family members, including my dad. When my dad found out, he was furious. He called my mom demanding explanations about why she spent her inheritance on luxuries while their daughter struggled with college expenses. This led to a massive argument where my mom accused everyone of ganging up on her and trying to make her look like a bad mother. My stepdad got involved and became extremely defensive. He cornered me in the kitchen one evening and said I had no right to discuss their private financial matters with others. He accused me of trying to turn the family against them by making them look bad. He even suggested that maybe I should start looking for my own place if I couldn't be trusted to keep family matters private. The situation at home has become unbearable. My mom switches between crying about being misunderstood and getting angry at me for exposing their secret. Sometimes she tries to explain that she needed nice things after struggling for so long, other times she accuses me of being ungrateful for everything she's done for me. My stepdad barely acknowledges my presence anymore, and when he does, it's with cold, disapproving looks. Some relatives have taken their side, saying I shouldn't judge how they spend their money since it was my mom's inheritance to use as she pleased. But others, especially those who knew my grandmother well, support me and think their behavior was selfish. My grandmother had always emphasized the importance of education, and they feel my mom disrespected her wishes by not using any of the money to help with my schooling. My aunt is now insisting on helping me even more after learning about the inheritance situation. She says she won't let me struggle when other family members had the means to help but chose not to. This has only made my mom more upset, claiming that my aunt is trying to replace her as my mother and turn me against her. I'm currently staying with my best friend until things calm down. Living at home became impossible after my stepdad started making comments about me being a snake in their home. My aunt's bonus turned out to be much more generous than I initially expected, and I've decided to accept it. After discovering how my mom chose to spend her inheritance, I realize I need to put my education and future first, regardless of how she feels about it. Update 3. Hi everyone, this will be my final update on this situation. A lot has changed since my last post, and I want to share where things stand now. After staying with my friend for several weeks, I made the decision to move into a small apartment near campus. My aunt helped me with the security deposit and first month's rent, and I'm managing the monthly payments with my part-time job at the coffee shop and some tutoring work I picked up. It's tight financially, but it's so much better than living in that toxic environment at home. My mom has been trying various ways to get me to move back home. She calls me almost daily, saying she misses me and that we can work things out if I just come back. However, I've noticed that nothing has really changed with her behavior. She and my stepdad are still making poor financial decisions. Last week, they financed a $12,000 hot tub, even though they're still paying off the couch and cruise. When I mentioned that maybe they should focus on paying off their existing debts, she got defensive and said I was judging her again. I accepted my aunt's help with school, which turned out to be a $5,000 bonus. This covered most of this semester's tuition and some of my books. Beyond the financial help, my aunt has been teaching me about investments, retirement planning, and building good credit, all the things I wish my mom had taught me. We meet for lunch every Sunday, and she's become more of a mentor than just an aunt. My relationship with my mom has shifted significantly. We still talk, but I keep our conversations focused on safe topics like TV shows or family gossip. I've learned to change the subject whenever she starts talking about money or tries to make me feel guilty about accepting help from my aunt. When she gets too emotional or manipulative, I end the call, telling her I have to study or work. Some family members, especially my mom's side, think I'm being too harsh by maintaining this distance. They keep saying things like she's still your mother and family should forgive each other. But they don't understand what it's like to watch your parents spend $50,000 on luxury items while crying about not being able to help with your education. My dad has become more involved in my life since learning about the inheritance situation. He's offered to help with next semester's books and has been sending me care packages with groceries and supplies. It's nice to have a parent who follows through on their promises to help, even if he lives in another state. My academics have improved significantly since moving out. Without the constant drama and tension at home, I can focus better on my studies. My GPA has gone up, and I'm on track to graduate with honors next year. Recently, my aunt told me that my mom tried to guilt her about helping me, saying she was destroying their mother-daughter relationship. My aunt shut that down quickly, telling her that she did that herself by prioritizing material things over her daughter's education. This led to another family argument, but honestly, I'm too tired to care anymore. I'm focusing on finishing my degree and building my own life now. The distance from my mom and stepdad has given me clarity about how their behavior affected me growing up. I've realized that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is step back from toxic situations, even when they involve family. I don't regret accepting my aunt's help or moving out. Sometimes protecting your future means making tough choices, even if they hurt people you love. I'm done feeling guilty about receiving help from family members who actually want to see me succeed. Thank you all for your support throughout this journey. I'm in a much better place now, both mentally and academically, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds.